Why is Raoul worried about a 50% pullback? Let's find out and let's see what we can do about it.
See a closer to 50% drop than an 80% drop. And we could only see a 40% drop. And that will get a lot of people offside because people want to trade the cycle. And I kind of warn people about this endlessly. And we'll talk about this in a few months' time or several months' time. Be careful of I'll nail the top. I'll go into stable coins. I'll fucking nail it. The market will go down 85% and I can buy at the low like Chris Bernisky and I'm going to be a god.
That's a good start. Everybody thinks they could time the market. Most people can't. And that's how you end up losing money because you think I'll buy at the low when I sell at the top and nobody does it. That's why dollar cost averaging is so important. Look up dollar cost averaging versus timing the market. Time in the market versus timing the market. That's a big deal to understand when you're investing in any asset.
You will not do that. You will A, not put the same amount of money back in because it's terrifying. B, you will not get the top. And C, what happens if the market falls 40% and then goes higher?
In this market analysis, we bring you a major update from Raoul Pal.
This is where I believe we need to be dollar cost averaging and not be looking at the prices in the market, up, down, left, right. If you believe Bitcoin is going to be $1 million one day, and today it's $100,000, and in 2 months it's $200,000, and in 5 years it's $700,000, why are you trying to time the market? Just buy as much as you can while the prices are as low as they can be, because you're not going to time it. Nobody's going to be able to time it.
Sharing his latest insights on Bitcoin and the broader cryptocurrency market. In a recent interview, Powell made some bold statements, suggesting that we may never experience an 80% crash again. However, he also discussed key topics like the Bitcoin peak, altcoin season, the US dollar, and potential rate cuts. Let's dive in and hear what he has to say about these important topics.
Is Bitcoin following the same pattern roughly? 2017 has been my base case for a while. Do not expect it to be identical, but and do not expect it to be going to wherever the scale says, I'm not looking for $1 million Bitcoin. Sure, there's a probability, but it's like 5%. But directionally, we should get this right, and it should continue to rally into the end of the year, into 2025, and maybe into early 26. We'll have to wait and see. But this is what the pattern tells us. It's repeating the same pattern. Bitcoin should be up only from here. And this is the typical post-correction halving. So what we have is the start of the banana zone, which we talked about from about September, and that was when Bitcoin hit 50,000. So the first banana zone phase one, that was this period here as we come up from the sell-off from the halving. Then we have the correction from the banana zone phase one. Happens every time.
The only thing about these charts is I kind of view them as like horoscopes. You can see whatever you want to see in them. You can make yourself see things in these charts. I used to watch them and I used to trade based on them, and I would talk to pros, like the pros of the pros, and I realized most people don't really know. There's no way you could know better than BlackRock, and like what they say is like 95% of traders lose money. So you're thinking you're looking at these charts, but you're really gambling, thinking you see something that nobody else sees. And this is where the dollar cost averaging comes in again, because if you're like, yeah, right now it's gonna go up, and I've done it, I've seen other people do it, I've seen pros do it. It's like, yeah, it's gonna go up, let's put all the money in, and then it goes down. And it's like, oh, I thought you knew what you were doing. I thought I knew what I was doing. I thought I was seeing the same things. Nobody knows, man. Nobody knows.
Then what do we get? The banana singularity. That's the next bit, when everything just goes up. And it makes us all look like geniuses. Every stupid shitcoin we've ever bought goes up. Everything goes up. And we think we're gods, which we're obviously not. We're probably just morons trying to do our best. But luckily, crypto market, it trends up over time, so it kind of covers all sins. As long as you're not too far out the shitcoin curve, you'll generally be fine over time, particularly if you don't fuck this up and stick to the big ones. they generally do fine over time. So it can cover all of your sins, your terrible entry points, all your stupid mistakes. I think it'll be fine. The big driver of the overall cycle and liquidity and all of it is this business cycle. Liquidity leads it, but Bitcoin is actually highly correlated. Basically, when you cross 50, those are the white lines, which is what we're about to do. Cross 50 on the upside, that's when the real banana zone starts. And then when ISM peaks, that's normally when Bitcoin peaks as well. So we are only at the bottom of the ISM cycle. We're nowhere near the top. So what it tells me is the probability is this cycle is going to go longer or later.
So again, take all information you see from anybody, me, Raoul, Paul, any rich person you think, with a grain of salt, because I've been doing this a while. And people have called things and you're like, oh, he thinks by January we're going to have a $10,000 Ethereum. It doesn't happen. You could base a lot of what you do based on this information and be wrong. And not to say he's doing this, but there has been many people that were caught giving out bad information to pump their bags, right? Because if I have a bunch of Ethereum or I'm shorting Ethereum and I know that I want a bunch of people to buy in and then it's going to drop, they can manipulate, So this is where I take all this and I look and I watch and I say, okay, I could see that happening, but I'm not going to stray away from my strategy, dollar cost averaging. And I have in the past. Trust me, I've seen stuff like this and I'm like, it's about to go crazy. Let me put in more of my capital and see what happens. And then it falls and I'm like, man, I keep getting caught with that. And it's just part of the game. Like, you have to, they say the more you trade, the more you lose. So if you're dollar cost averaging, that's different. You're buying. But the more you trade, you lose. So try to not trade. So what I do is I buy, I dollar cost average, I borrow for my expenses. And then if the price falls, Stack will protect my liquidation, so I don't need to worry about that. But I'm only buying and borrowing. And if I have to sell, it's because I'm protecting my loan. Because again, one of the biggest things I see is people like, just buy and forget about it, never spend it, never use it. And I'm like, yeah, but I need money. I don't want to just have something that I can't do anything with. I need money, so I want to be able to borrow. If Bitcoin goes to $1 million, I want to be able to borrow off of it. I don't want to have to sell it and pay taxes.
Than certainly the last cycle, because last cycle, remember, Bitcoin peaked in ISM peaked in March 2021 at a huge level of like 63, 64. We are nowhere near. We haven't started the cycle yet. So it's all.
But look at that peak and that drop, right? Like, if you were here, man, I lived through this. We all my stackers, we saw this. Well, most of us. You end up thinking it's going up forever, right? And it is like a euphoric moment. I remember we were literally just thinking how rich we would be in a few months of this continuing, and it fell. Look how much it fell. And this is another way that dollar cost averaging protects you, because nobody saw this coming. I'm telling you, if you go back to YouTube clips around this time, everybody was like, oh my God, this is it. We're going to be so rich. And then it just, right? So if you dollar cost averaging, though, it don't matter. Yes, it's going up, you're buying. It's going down, you're buying more as it goes down. Then when it comes up, you have more money. But if you try to time this stuff, I'm telling you, maybe you have to learn it for yourself and go through one bull run where you think you can time it and see that you can't, for you to get to my position of just dollar cost average. Just dollar cost average, and when you need money, borrow immediately so you always have cash, because that's another big thing that I saw. People would put money in and say, I'll borrow later when I need it, but then the price falls and they can't borrow as much as they thought they would have been able to
play for, which is why it's going to be longer and back-end loaded, and it may go into 2026 first quarter. Let's see how it plays out, but that's looking like it to me. And I've been adjusting these probabilities, over time, but I've always had a decent probability that it's back-end loaded. I also think it might be a bigger cycle than expected. ISM, also a driver of the Bitcoin of Altseason. So Altseason crosses 50, people have more money. Altseason starts increasing as people start reinvesting their money. So Altseason is that small caps in regular equities, same kind of thing. We are nowhere near the top. You've got nothing to fear except fear itself. I don't get it. It's just normal stuff, right? Market goes up, market goes down. You will get big drawdowns very quickly. You might shit your pants unless you've been around for a couple of cycles. That's fine. You can buy new underwear and it'll all be okay. Because the market over time will go up until the business cycle peaks, the liquidity cycle peaks, the financial conditions peak. We're just on the way up. So there's nothing to worry about. Okay.
But this is where you have to have a strategy. Are you in this for a short term? Are you just saying, okay, I'm trying to get rich in the next 5 months? Good luck with that. Hope it happens for you. But more than likely it won't. You have to give it time, right? Like the true thing is you need at least 2, maybe 3 cycles. That's 12 years to actually generate a lot of wealth. Because what you do is normally in the first run, you learn. Then it falls and you accumulate as much as possible. Second bull run, you benefit. You learn what you did wrong in the first one. If it falls again, you take that profit this time. You take as much of it as possible in. And then you accumulate again, and that third run is where you make super life-changing wealth. Again, what he's saying in his video, though, is important. This time, institutional investors are in, countries, strategic reserves, treasuries. There's all these companies buying Bitcoin. Ethereum is powering all of this. We don't know what the fall is going to be this time. It may not be as much. It may be worse. Who knows? And if you think you're going to come in and this is your first time doing Bitcoin and you're going to be the one that figures it out, good luck. I hope you don't try that because it's painful. Trust me. And I think seeing stuff like this just reinforces dollar cost average.
I think over time, volatility falls as you get market adoption. The more adoption, the more users, the more market activity, the more liquid it is, the less you tend.
Don't pay anything to fix your roof. New York City homeowners can get a free roof.
Tend to see the drops. The more users, the more market activity, the more liquid it is, the less you tend to see the drops, the less the existential crisis of, are they going to ban it? Have I screwed up? Is this a stupid thing? All of that stuff goes away. So my guess is we probably see a closer to 50% drop than an 80% drop. And we could only see a 40% drop. And that's
what he's saying at the top of the market. Let's say it gets to 200K. It may only fall back down to 100K, not back down to 60K or 40K. Like in the past, it went from 60 to 20, right? And before that, it went from like 20 to 10, right? So whatever the past has done, because there's so many more people in now, like I just mentioned, it may not fall so far down and you're thinking, I'll just come back in and buy when it gets back to 60K. But it never gets back to 60K and you never buy back in, and then you look up and it's 500K and you're like, man, I should have bought when it was 100, whatever it was.
We'll get a lot of people offside because people want to trade the cycle. And I kind of warn people about this endlessly. We'll talk about this in a few months' time or several months' time. Be careful of I'll nail the top. I'll go into stable coins. I'll fucking nail it. The market will go down 85% and I can buy at the low like Chris Bernitsky and I'm going to be a god. You will not do that. You will A, not put the same amount of money back in because it's terrifying. B, you will not get the top.
There's another reason dollar cost averaging removes you from that thought of, oh, should I buy right now? It's set to automatically buy for you. Just it automatically does its thing. You don't even have to think about it. Just like what 401ks are. If people had to do their 401k and every month they buy stocks, people would not have 401ks. Not to say 401ks is the best thing to do, but it works long term. Only reason it works long term is because it's dollar cost averaging for you from your check.
And see what happens if the market falls 40% and then goes higher. And you'll be waiting for that drop and you'll be chasing all the way up. You're not Chris Beniski, and even Chris says exactly the same thing. We were swapping notes today on X about that. It's like, just be careful, please be careful of expecting massive. Now, anything smaller, your memes, smaller tokens, even earlier stage layer ones, maybe Sui, for example, they'll go down more because they're yet unproven. They don't have the network adoption, etc.
So that's a strategy I do right now is I'll take bigger risks on small cap market cap things because I know they have the potential to scale very fast, but I'm not going to just watch it scale very fast and hope it keeps going up. If I see it grow a certain percent, I sell enough to take out my profit, I put it in stack, I borrow, and I buy back in. So now I took in my profits and I still have the asset, and I have a video about that.